Welcome, YouTube viewer, to today's episode of As Jim Sees It. Season 4, Episode 30, hashtag Travel Story, Part 5. Here's a little snippet to today's episode. This part gets pretty insane.
King of the road, trailer for sailoring. That trailer for sailoring. Ain't got no cigarettes, but trailer for sailoring.
Hello, this is As Jim Sees It. Episode 30. I'm kind of excited, I can't lie. 30 episodes for me is a little goal, you know? I feel like I achieved something. I stayed consistent on YouTube, which they ask for constant uploads to be able to get your channel to grow and get subscribers. And I've maintained consistency with uploads, and granted, I'm still learning, trying to get better at creating content and give things to you, the viewer, that are engaging and aren't boring and entertaining, to say the least. You know, that's always what I aim for you, the viewer, is to be entertained. So go ahead and click that like button if you want. If you don't want to and you want to skip past this video, go ahead. I'm still going to upload until I'm dead. All right, here we go. So we are on part 5 of the travel story, hashtag travel story of As Jim Sees It. I pull into, this part gets pretty insane. This is where the adventure got a little overwhelming. If you want to know where this left off, you're obviously going to have to check out part 4. Anyhow, I pull into this lady's driveway. We hug. We embrace each other. Happy to be there. Quite a crappy mode of being thus far since I started the adventure. And she says, "Come on in. We'll go to this place. We'll go to that place." And I was like, "Okay, cool. Before we do anything, can we go to Walmart? I want to get some groceries, get some food in me. I'm really hungry." She says, "Yeah. Let me show you around. I said, "Well, you don't have to show me around. Like, I'm just gonna stay in the driveway, like we had discussed. I'll give you some rent money, blah blah blah, yada yada yada." She says, "Oh, okay, kind of blew it off." So we go to Walmart, and we're in Ormond Beach, Florida. So I'm like, "Hey, can we take a drive by the ocean and kind of see what the town's about?" She says, "Yeah, sure." So we go down Granada Boulevard, and to the left is hotels, there's people walking around, and it's nighttime, it's warm, the wind, it has a different taste to it because you're right by the ocean. There's that white noise in the background because the ocean waves are crashing. You can barely hear it, but it's always there. So we're driving around just looking at the motels. She's telling me about how she lived here, she'd stayed there. And as we're driving, I'm just really feeling fulfilled, and I'm feeling whole and happy. And I made it by the ocean, and I'm gonna get to go here whenever I want. And I'm going to get to finish writing the final Vigilante, which is the screenplay that I had been working on. And we pull around, we pull into her driveway, we go in the house, and she says to me, "So, what are your plans on staying here?" And I'm like, "Well, I'm going to stay in the bus in the driveway like we initially discussed." She's like, okay. And I'm like, "Oh, this is not good." I don't think she had the same plans that I did. So her boyfriend comes over. We're all hanging out front, chatting away, da-da-da-da-da. She's like, "Hey, we're gonna go canoeing tomorrow. We're gonna go canoeing." I'm like, "Okay, cool." Or no, not canoeing. It's a popular thing in Florida. I can't think of the name of it off the top of my head, but it's the same thing as a canoe. And just do it individually. I can't think of it because I don't write this stuff out. I brainstorm and I just go on the camera and talk to you, the audience. So hoping to toggle the algorithm. See, I'd love to be able to edit that out. Hoping, that should be a new word. Anyhow, I go to bed, and she's like, well, before I go to bed though, she's like, why don't you stay in here tonight? Go stay in the spare bedroom. And I'm like, okay, fine. That's it's whatever. And I stay in the spare bedroom. And I can't lie, it's air conditioned. It's kind of nice, It's I'm used to hot weather, cold weather in the bus, so it don't matter to me. I'm a gangster when it comes to doing the bus life and staying in any element and either staying warm or staying cool and figuring out how to do it and maintaining my happiness. So I get up the next day and we go to a couple places and we come back. She's like, so, you think, what do you see with us in the future? And I'm like, I don't really think about it. And in my mind, I'm going, I don't see us in the future except as a friend, always as a friend. And she starts to tell me about how she's getting stalked. And she needs me to do some stuff around the house to make it more secure. And I was like, okay, it's a little weird, but all right. Seems a little odd that you want me to do all these things that your boyfriend could do around the house. Like put up a camera, security camera. So the video got cut off, not because of me, because a telephone call came in from a scam. And I'm absolutely furious. So when I'm done making this video, I'm gonna be real nasty and send a text message that is bullying, like Donald Trump does. That guy's such a bully. Anyhow. I'm thinking, why is she... What's she up to? What's her master plan? So we meet some mutual friends, and they kind of start telling me about her. They're like, "Hey, dude, that she might not be on the up and up with you. Here's what you got to watch for." And I'm like, "No, that ain't the case." So we're sitting down at the kitchen table one day. It's been a week or two, and she's like, Are you gonna move the bus to the next door neighbors? And I'm like, oh, with the no trespassing sign where nobody lives? Absolutely not. Why would you ask me that? When I came down here initially, we had discussed that I'd be able to stay in your driveway and kind of give you some rent money that way, so I don't have to worry about any kind of trouble. And she's like, well, no. And listen, when I tell you this driveway is huge, you could fit 5 cars in it long. Like, there was no issue with my bus being there, none. And it wasn't like a regular school bus. It was just a 40-foot shuttle bus. It was like having an F-150 in her driveway. And I'm getting irritated, and I'm getting nerved up, and I'm getting nervous and stressed out, because I'm like, I'm in a place where I don't know anybody except her, and it's 12 hours from Ohio. And it's not like I can call a friend and say, hey, let me come crash for a couple days till I get this thing figured out. This lady's starting to show some flakiness. I don't know what's going on with her motives. Like, she's starting to it seemed like she was trying to either get me there and get money out of me, and if I wasn't grabbing onto that to where I would do whatever she wanted, whenever she wanted around her house, and pay rent on top of it, that she was going to get me out. That's what it started to feel like, So I had met this guy named Mike, like I had said earlier before we got interrupted, and I started to think about what he had said, and I was like, oh man, I might have really got myself in a pickle. But luckily, right, I'm living in a bus, so it's no big deal, because I could just go stay at a Planet Fitness or a Walmart or something like that and not have to worry about any type of trouble. And the one day we're in the kitchen eating food, she had finally got me to the point where I was like, I was leaving my bus in the no trespassing zone because she was stressing me out so bad. I'm stressed out about that thing getting towed. I'm just a ball of nerves. And because this adventure, when I say thing that I've manifested seems like it's completely going south and bad in every way possible, is just I don't know. I'm like at a loss. So I'm kind of just surviving. I'm going to the ocean whenever I can to let loose, and then I'd come back. And the one day I come back and she says, "So are we ever gonna date or what?" Now, mind you, nothing that I could have done, said, nothing would give her that impression. Nothing. I kept it very platonic the whole time. I was even like not around a lot. And she has a boyfriend, mind you, right? And then when I'm asking her, "Hey, do you have a boyfriend?" She's like, oh, I'm sorry. I didn't say, "Hey, do you have a boyfriend?" I said, "Where's your boyfriend at?" And she's like, "Well, he's not my boyfriend." And I'm like, oh, because the way that they communicated and behaved said, he's definitely your boyfriend. And he's a good guy, so I don't know why you wouldn't just tell people he's your boyfriend. It's not really that big of a deal. And she says to me, "Well, are we ever going to date?" And I was like, "No, under no condition ever are we going to date. I've never done anything to make you think that. I don't know why you think that. We're just friends. That's all it's going to be." The next day, it was like I was living with a different human being. And she's starting fights, like saying things like, "You make me feel uncomfortable in my home, da-da-da." And I'm like, and all I think in my head is she's going to call the cops. I'm not from this state. The cops will run my license plate and see that I'm from Ohio. This was a terrible idea. And her and I had known each other for like years, but I had never spent like time with her. I had never been around her for days on end. You know, it was always like through mutual friends hanging out, things of that nature. She always seemed trustworthy. You know, like I said, we had communicated plans before I moved down there. And then at the drop of a dime, everything had just changed. And I started to think, I got to get out of here. And I just looked at her and I said, I'm gonna pack my stuff. I'm gonna get out of here. Can you please give me my rent money back? Because I had given it to her like 2 or 3 days before that. And of course she didn't. She totally kept the cash. So I was like, okay, that was obviously part of her plan. And I packed up my things and got on the road and went to the local Planet Fitness, got signed up. And I think I went to the ocean that day, just filled with adrenaline. And the ocean has a magic to it. It always can kind of pull that away to where I would calm down. And I don't know if it does that for everybody, but it does it for me. So that night I go to Planet Fitness and I'm laying in bed and I'm asleep and I'm totally relaxed. Boom, boom, boom. I hear a knock at my door. And I'm like, what was that? Christopher Malillo. And I was like, that's the cops. Because they just have a tone, an authoritative tone where you're like, no, uh-oh. And it was the first time I got the bus life knock that everybody talks about. And I answered my door and I said, yes. And they're like, hey, you can't sleep here. And I'm like, you can't crash at Planet Fitnesses? They're like, not in the city of Ormond in Florida. I said, okay, I'll go to Walmart. Where's the local Walmart? They're like, no, you don't understand, Mr. Malillo. This whole city has an ordinance against people living in their vehicles. And I was like, oh. I was like, okay, what do I do? Where do I go? And they're like, you can go off the highway to the rest stop. And I was a little nervous about that because it wasn't near the city and it wasn't anywhere I had known. And don't get me wrong, like, you know, I'm not a guy who is afraid of situations or confrontation, but that just seemed way too sketchy until I knew the area, you know. And even then, there's so many homeless people in Ormond and people that literally live in the woods in tents and make like tree forts and things of that nature. And if you've been to Florida, you know what I'm talking about, or you're from Florida, you know what I'm talking about. I wasn't gonna have the tree people come and mess with me or takes, you know, whatever. So I was like, okay, well, where can I go? And they're like, in Daytona, there's a parking lot where they don't have that ordinance. Now, Daytona's crime is terrible. It's absolutely terrible. Like Ormond and Daytona is like the rich and then the criminally insane right next to each other. So I didn't really want to do that. I'm like, oh my God, this is absolutely crazy. I was like, okay. So they're like, you got to go. And I'm like, all right. So I went to Walmart, and we'll stop the story there. And we'll wait for the next adventure of part 6, right? Part 6 of the hashtag travel story. And I'll tell you what happened there. So I appreciate everybody watching, paying attention, subscribing. The channel is slowly growing. Again, we're always going to try to come out, Raymond and I are always going to try to write and come out with really entertaining content for you, the viewer, because stress can be a real pain. And sometimes the only way away from stress is through laughter. And if you hate your job and you need something to destroy the time on your break and you want to laugh, I recommend my channel. Hopefully you can relate and get a good laugh. All right, man. Thanks for watching. Hit the like button, hit subscribe, post in the comments below. I'll see you next week.